Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is an in-depth breakdown of Rick and Morty Season 4, Episode 7, Promortyus, aka the episode that started as a Prometheus parody and ended as a series' darkest 9/11iest, which is a made-up word, but all words are made up. In yesterday's Rick-Splained After Show, we joined voiceover actor Tara Strong. Here, I'm gonna go back through this episode frame by frame to point out every missable animation detail that make this episode so shocking it grossed out the animators who worked on it. The episode opens with Rick and Morty already in progress of what looks like an alien xenomorph situation. The title Promortyus is a nod to Prometheus, the prequel to the Alien movies, which showed how space explorers just can't help but touch wet eggs and kiss facehuggers. In fairness, those characters hadn't seen the Alien movies themselves. When your fictional universe has no good sci-fi to scare ya, you end up becoming a cautionary tale yourself. Before they detach the facehuggers, they're carrying eggs, leaving us with a bit of mystery at the top of the episode as to what they were doing, making it super rewarding when they flash back to reveal these facehuggers were in love and just trying to start a family. Morty gives us some solid reasoning to create a Pornhub account, and Rick measures a civilization's progress by whether or not they have an M&M store.
Holy sh**, they've got an M&M store.
Now, the original host society were the pink pig-nosed aliens who first showed up in Season 3's Whirly Durly Conspiracy episode with those kids playing in the immortality field.
Lisa?
That was one of the series' darkest jokes up until that point. And then this race showed up again last episode as the vaping incel cult follower who died inside Floaty Blood Man. Really, this race has only ever had terrible things happen to it. The facehuggers bleed acid, just like the xenomorphs, and they explode out of their bodies like the chestburster stage. The writers also cited Starro from the DC comics, which also reproduces asexually and attaches to the face, just less viscerally than the xenomorphs. Morty worries.
Seems like a self-destructive life cycle.
Is that gonna happen to us?
You feel an egg in your stomach?
No.
Well, glass half full.
That sets up the moment at the end of the episode when they think they're gonna shit an egg. They get in some good jokes about media creators.
Wow, just cogs in the machine, you know? Makes you think.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll make this into a beautiful short film that your parents will pay for, Morty.
A lot of the writers and animators on the show probably knew kids in art school who looked too deeply into the themes in their crappy projects that really their rich parents funded. Joke's on them, you didn't need to go to film school to do that. But yeah, then they do make sure the joke is on us specifically, with Rick's facehugger being a YouTuber who sucks so much he can't even get brand deals selling vitamins. By the way, this episode is sponsored, but it's not gonna be vitamins, you'll see. Rick's rants on YouTube knockoff You Host declare,
Our hosts are biologically designed to incubate our eggs. If that triggers you, off. If it doesn't, please like and subscribe.
which you could see as a parody of the folks who argue that different sexes or races are biologically designed to play certain roles in society, which you may be doing this to, or this, whatever it is, don't at me. The alien who hates Rick's videos tells Morty to fix him, a nod that all these facehuggers knew that Steve and Bruce were a thing. Now, the ship they're gonna use to bring Glorzo to other planets, like many things on Rick and Morty, has a distinct dick shape. When they tow it behind them, its contents that spill out the tip initially look very spermy. The shipbuilders complain when Morty calls this off.
Just would have been nice to have heard this sooner, before we spent all day on it.
Yeah.
For next time, maybe put more thought into it before a whole day.
Okay, well, I'm sorry I made you do your job for a fucking day. You look like you were all really busy before I came in.
Boy, oh boy, huh?
This is before Morty realizes that the Glorzo life cycle is just 30 minutes. So using that as a basis, they have spent an entire lifetime working on this thing. Morty tries to puppet his facehugger mask using some Mr. Meeseeks exclamations.
Oh, geez, look at me. I fell down on the floor.
Oh.
And the alien who calls him out here is vocal cameo by Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, well, if we're free to ask questions, why haven't you blinked for 20 minutes? And why doesn't your mouth move when you talk?
They escape in Rick's ship, which has its microverse battery exposed. Always love that sweet continuity. And they mock the casually high body count of Star Wars movies, with Morty backflipping into a gunner seat, just like the one on the Millennium Falcon, and yee-hawing like gunners do in the Star Wars movies.
I got him.
And the animation details in this part go super dark. A soldier's head gets taken off, showing the vertebrae of his spine. They blow through a bridge, killing a ton of civilians, including one that sticks to the windshield. During this, Rick opens up about his mental health.
I'm sorry if I've been taking it out on you.
No, I get it. You got a lot on your plate, amigo. I just wish you'd open up to me more about it sometimes. You know, I'm your partner.
Thanks, Morty. I mean that. Thank you. Sometimes I get a little in my head, you know?
Hey, man, that head's a good place to be.
Yeah, none of this is a valid excuse to slaughter a race of people people. It's the writers joking about how assholes tend to justify their cruelty and abuse by shrugging, "Oh, sorry, I'm just going through some stuff." Yeah, f your feelings, just be decent. Summer does the same thing at the end of the episode.
Jesus, Summer, why'd you let these things stay on us for so long?
I was working with a lot. Just let me listen to the podcast next time.
Rick uses a huge-ass laser to take down 2 tiny ships. Laser blast way bigger than necessary, melting a building behind them. And then when we cut back to Rick, he is briefly wearing a seatbelt, which Rick never does. Either he briefly feels vulnerable after opening up, or it's an animation oversight. They approach twin towers resembling the World Trade Center towers and swerve past, saying that a 9/11 reference would be low-hanging fruit and they're above that. To be clear, it is not the value of life that makes them swerve. It's like a humorist snobbery over making a cheap joke, which is kind of worse. Which is why immediately after this, they bomb a Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor, on the other hand.
Yeah, I think that's inbounds.
I am the god of death.
Should have been a better species.
Notice how the animators recreated rows of battleships and cruisers and palm trees, and you can see poor little sailors on these ships getting blown to hell. And if that wasn't bad enough, Rick and Morty blast out of there right over first responders just trying to free civilians from the rubble. All of them deadzo. One of them just has his severed bottom half sticking up in the air. Yeah, think about that. Every time the Star Wars sequel trilogy hyperspeed skips close to a planet's surface. None of your heroes are good people, especially the scrappy ones, because you cannot spell scrappy without the letter S, which stands for sucks. But you know what heroes I find most charming and relatable are the ones that are scrappy and self-made. Kind of like a good PC, customized just the way you want it. Well, thanks to Omaze for sponsoring this video. Enter for your chance to win $20,000 to build your ultimate dream PC while supporting a great charity by going to omaze.com/rockstars and using the code ROCKSTARS50 for 50 additional entries. Omaze's model democratizes traditional auction giving by offering everyone the chance to have a once-in-a-lifetime experience that also benefits a charity. Through the Omaze platform, people from more than 180 countries have made donations that support over 350 charities, driving awareness for the charity's work and raising more money than traditional methods. They've given over $130 million to charity, and their goal is to raise $1 billion for charity in a single year. On Omaze, you can enter to win a Tesla, play Dungeons & Dragons with Joe Manganiello, or have a virtual coffee date with the cast of The Office while supporting charities like Make-A-Wish and the Boys and Girls Club. Omaze is offering you the chance to win an ultimate dream PC. Whether it's for gaming, film editing, graphic design, or whatever you like, taxes and shipping are included, and even better, every donation benefits a great cause, Gamers Outreach, a charity that does awesome work with the gaming community to provide recreation to children in hospitals. All you gotta do is go to omaze.com/rockstars and enter for your chance to win. Use the code ROCKSTARS50 for 50 additional entries. Back at home, Rick blames the Saudis for 9/11, another example of his charged Middle East geopolitical stances, which we saw back in the Vindicators episode in season 3.
If anything, the drunk version of me is probably so supportive of Israel. He wants what's best for it, and
Hey man, I'm not touching this. You do you.
Jerry reveals that he's begun beekeeping with a jar of Jerry's Own honey as a nod to Newman's Own, Paul Newman's charity food brand. I love how after defending himself, Jerry tunes out the conversation about Summer, just continues to enjoy his breakfast and live his life. Morty and Rick return to get Summer and notice they brought their pancake breakfast to go, because as we know from the first Citadel of Ricks episode, Rick hates mushy pancakes.
and I hate to get all Andy Rooney about it, but I think we all like fluffy discs of cake with syrup on top.
Morty feels bad about their destruction, and Rick calls back past violent episodes.
Do you think we never go back to a place we've already been? Do you know how many adventures we could get out of Purge Planet, Morty? Gear World? I don't sequel, it's called Integrity.
Look Who's Purging Now ended with a similar supersuit bloody massacre, and Morty Night Run wrecks Gear World with similar carnage. Beer bottles spill out of Rick's car, as always, and Rick uses his Rick Pewter to suit up the two of them in anime armor inspired by Gundam Wing and Voltron Ronin. They clean up, and Rick's ship drills a freaking hole in the ground, similar to the high collateral damage World Engine in Man of Steel. Throughout all this, Morty and Rick are still unaffected by the violence they've caused.
Man, I really shouldn't have gone with swords.
Yeah, I know. My wrists are killing me.
Flamethrowers next time for sure.
They find Summer, who is actually the Empress of this planet.
Some, come with us if you want to live.
Lol Terminator reference there. Notice that her minions have hats with a peace sign, showing how she became ruler on the message of Glorzo is peace. In prison, Morty sings a tune.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. You know that song, Rick?
He's singing the American Slave Spiritual. That was also sung by Zazu in The Lion King.
Nobody knows.
Summer reveals what led to this facehugger situation. A flashback shows the three of them listening to a podcast.
Garcool really capable of consuming a living sun? Or was I simply getting too close to Garcool? Was Garcool consuming me?
She's been talking about summoning Garcool for 3 episodes, Summer.
Yeah, they're joking about the podcast Serial, in which the host Sarah Koenig was made fun of for forming a weird fascination with the subject Adnan Syed, and kept saying she was gonna call him in prison in the next episode, but then kept pushing it off. Rick tells them to pretend podcasting isn't boring, which might be a nod to Dan Harmon's recent departure from hosting the Harmontown podcast. They crash land on the asteroid like the derelict spacecraft in the Alien movies, and Morty and Rick stupidly tamper with the wet eggs while Summer's dumb toothpicking stabs the facehuggers in the eye. She hears the Glorzo life cycle but tells them to do more than reproduce, opening their culture to immediate strides. Because again, they only live for 30 minutes, so a lot gets done in that time. Dan Harmon himself sang this patriotic Glorzo song over imagery, including Glorzos riding tandem bikes and flying kites. The school is decorated with facehugger paper art, and on the ceiling, students have thrown up pencils and gum. There's also a knife up there, it looks like. Morty and Rick's facehuggers, Steve and Bruce, profess their love.
Why do you hate her so much?
Because she took you away from me!
I feel the same way.
Yeah, this is kind of the show hinting at a gross relationship between Morty and his grandfather, since, yeah, it is their voices, but technically it's the facehuggers who are in love, and yeah, Justin Roiland is doing both voices anyway. Also, when Summer finishes her story, they say,
Hey, wait a second. How'd you know that last part? You weren't there for that.
I had to fill in some gaps. Everyone around the office knew about Steve and Bruce.
so yeah, even though Steve and Bruce were definitely in a relationship and definitely gathering eggs for a family, the more erotic parts of the story might have just been unreliable narrator Summer's embellishment. Rick and Morty face a council of Glorzo, similar to the Council of Ricks. But Rick uses Morty's harmonica tune to burst the Glorzos, which makes Morty feel a bit bad.
Should we help?
Oh, like that's helping.
They return home, realize they've learned nothing, and they sit down to watch Interdimensional Cable, the second episode in a row that ends like this.
Let's watch some interdimensional cable.
But this time we do get a little bit of it.
Do you suffer from Alzheimer's? Do you suffer from Alzheimer's? Do you suffer from Alzheimer's? Do you suffer from Alzheimer's?
They think they're gonna shit an egg.
Is it, Morty? It's full circle from the pilot. Full circle.
It's a joke about how back in the pilot, Morty had to shove a mega seed up his butt, but now something huge is coming out. But instead, they just shit on the floor. A nod to Get Schwifty.
Shit on the floor. Time to get Schwifty in here.
The post-credit scene shows Summer's horny friend Trish checking out Jerry's beekeeping.
Summer, I want to your dad.
Oh, really?
This is kind of a nod to American Beauty, in which canceled Spacey is a loser dad in a midlife crisis who finally begins standing up for himself and picking up hobbies, fantasizing about his daughter's teenage girlfriend, who at the end of the movie does come on to him. Also, in that backyard, you can see the grassy mounds where Rick and Morty buried their own bodies back in season 1. The animators usually keep these graves visible every time we get an angle of this part of the property, but I had to get one last whiff of continuity. Reminder to check out yesterday's Rick-Splained episode to see us break down the darker elements of this episode with Tara Strong. Super fun episode. One of the first times in a while I was legitimately starstruck. And join our official Discord server by becoming a patron at patreon.com/newrockstars. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars. Subscribe to this channel for more Rick and Morty breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and fingers crossed YouTube bots don't hear me say 9/11 and demonetize us.